Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Community Exchange Podcast, where we talk to friends old and new about their careers and the future of the media industry. I'm Matthew Scott Goldstein, better known as
MSG.
Thank you, Rich. As always, the Community Exchange Podcast is brought to you by OpenWeb, the company building a safer, fairer, and more trustworthy internet. Now we have a great conversation for you. Rich, you are now currently, as of a month ago, the vice chairman of Daily Mail General Trust.
That's correct.
But before we talk about all that, and before we talk about what's happening in today's world, I want to talk about when you first got into media and how that happened. We're not going to talk about Cornell, where my son went and you went. We have that in common. Let's talk about how you first got into media, your first media job, and by the way, what your role was at the first company.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me.
I had no choice.
To sit here.
I had no choice. You told me every single day you wanted to be on this podcast.
There have been a great slate of people. I wouldn't. I'm happy.
Oh, and I have to add, you are one of the smartest people I know in the industry. I can't say the smartest, but you're one of the smartest people I know in the industry. Today is December 3rd, and let's go.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. I've been in the space for 25 years. This year was my 25th anniversary.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. I joined, I was a young man then. I joined iVillage. It was a startup in New York, one of the early internet companies in 1999.
Who was iVillage owned by? Where was it funded by?
We had a great bunch of early...
Oh, it was the USA Today, the USA...
No, Hearst made an investment after we went public. But we went public in 99, soon after I joined. It was one of the survivors. We made it through the crash. We had a relationship with Hearst that helped us through that. And then we sold it, and I joined as chief technology officer.
Wait. So you joined as CTO.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable because not too many CTOs become CEOs in today's world. Yeah, and I always go back to, I think the people who best run companies today in media and publishing have a tech or product or engineering background, and then you were then the CTO at iVillage.
Yeah, but I had a really good team. I had excellent guys, and I had a coach, person who had held the job who stayed on, and I kept him on, named Mark Graham, who runs the Internet Archive today. And when I made dumb statements or asked silly questions, he would coach me, and he'd pull me aside and explain it to me. And I learned about it really quickly because of them.
And what year was this in iVillage?
99.
Okay.
And we went public. It was one of those, .com.
Was it like the Globe, or it went from 3 to 300 and then back down?
I think we were supposed to open at 12. They called it to 24 the night before. Goldman took us out, and I think within a couple of weeks we're trading at 120. It's worth $3 billion.
Oh, wasn't it Doug McCormick?
Doug became the CEO.
Right, and he was at USA Lifetime.
Yeah.
That's where it was. Okay.
One of the few guys who've done it multiple times. Yeah.
Okay, so
He's
you're
passed away recently, and I really do appreciate what I learned from him. He was a great leader.
So iVillage, CTO. Yeah. This is 99, up and down.
Yeah, 2006 we sold it. There was an auction. We sold it to NBC.
A big auction.
Yeah, there were a few players that did it. We sold it for, at the time, was a lot of money, and there have been other exits.
What was the number?
650 maybe.
Yeah, because my Dakota exit was 270 to AOL.
Yeah.
About the same time, 2007.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, it was a good. It was a good transaction, and it was a lot of great people. There's a wonderful alumni group.
What was it like working for NBC back in the day?
I left.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah.
So you're smart.
Yeah, I wanted out. I made sure everyone had good roles. By that point, I think I was COO of Daily Mail, of iVillage, and.
But this is important though. You went from CTO world
and SVP of product, I believe, and then I took over more operations overall. And
was that a natural transition for you? Was that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, it was what I always wanted to do. We were public, so it was tough. Every quarter, you had to give it, your forecast, and then I remember 5 weeks through the 13, I'd sit down with
the 13 weeks,
and we'd go, what are we doing? And we'd scramble. It was really hard. So when people go public now or say they want to go public, I warn them.
Because you were part of a publicly traded company for a while, what it's like.
And the stock went to 120, and then it got down to, I think, 68 cents. So.
So sad.
Then we sold it for a lot of money.
Okay.
Good team.
So NBC, then you left.
Yeah, I left there. And I thought, this is the start of thing. We created a fund. A friend and I had a small fund, and we started investing. And that's when I first saw some ad tech stuff.
Okay, so so after you left NBC or iVillage,
Yeah.
you and a friend raised some money.
Yep.
How much money did you raise?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And we threw in some of our own. We raised some, and we did small investments, and we operated a few of the companies.
Was it fun?
I wasn't a good investor. As much as I had said, I'm tired of operations, I want to get out, I realized I wasn't a good investor. But we learned a lot, and we found a lot.
Why were you not a good investor? I think someone like you would be good at that.
I don't know. I think I would wanted to be too much involved in the operation.
Okay.
And a lot of it, I didn't know what I was talking about, But there were some great people that we met. That's when I met Brian O'Kelly. He brought us in on the Invite deal, Roger Ehrenberg.
The Invite deal, the one that was sold to
Invite Media was sold.
Google, right?
Yeah.
Or DoubleClick Google, right?
Yeah, they were the original buy side.
Okay, so how long did you do this little VC, the Rich Caccappolo VC fund for a while?
For probably, I left maybe 2011. Oh, no, we had the downturn. 2008 was tough, right? The Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in 2010, 2011. We had made an investment in a digital wallet company that a company called eMusic was using, and I went and I worked for them as a CTO because they were interested in the asset that we had funded.
And how many companies did you invest in, ballpark?
A dozen.
Okay.
And then I left.
And then you went to eMusic.
Yeah.
Because it just
year.
you unwound the.
Yeah, we still had some stuff to worry about, but we had invested everything.
Are any of the investments still active today?
No, they were all
Okay.
closed. And then a friend of mine, a guy I'd gotten to know, Bob Kerry, a senator from Nebraska.
Wait, hold on. So now we're taking a full, complete 180.
Yeah.
Wait, how'd you get to know Bob Kerry?
So Bob came to the YMCA in 2000. So Bob Kerry, great American, great elected official. He had been governor of Nebraska, Medal of Honor winner, had been senator from Nebraska, ran for president in 92. Won again in 94. In 2000, decided to walk away, and he came to New York, and he was president of the New School. And he walked into
My
the
wife
YMCA,
went to the New School, okay.
And and I walked up to him and said, welcome to New York, and we became friends. And then
What year was this?
2000, 2001.
Okay, and then so
then we'd
2000.
work
So
out all
you
the
worked
time.
because you used to work out every morning,
Yeah,
right?
and he would come every morning, and
To the YMCA on 14th Street.
Yeah.
Did he live right around there?
he lived in the president's house for New School, which was off Fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
But he, amazing stories, amazing.
Was it just you and he working out?
Third friend, another friend, I just enjoyed spending time with him and learning with him. And then he helped out things we were trying to do in the community. And then he, I met some of his students that were interested in media. And I really I still do value the friendship. And then in 2012, the seat that he had filled in Nebraska opened up, and we all said, "Oh, you got to do this again." And he said, "No, I can't. I don't want to do that again." He had a son.
This is the Senate seat, right?
Yeah, the Senate seat in Nebraska. And then he went back and he called me. He went back to just go check on it, and his old team was.
So he
still
flew to
there.
Nebraska.
He flew to Nebraska, and he called me up and he said, I said, "How's it going, Bob?" He said, "People here, it's weird. Some of them don't know me." And I laughed. I didn't realize everybody in Nebraska knew him. He said, "Some of these people, I haven't run for office in years, and they're too young to know me." And I think they used to teach his biography in like 6th grade.
That's crazy.
And so he said, "I don't know how to reach these younger people." And I said, "Oh, you do. Facebook was growing and social media." And he said, "Would you come out and take a look around?" And I flew out.
You were still at eMusic at this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said I flew out. They picked me up. They took me to a user group. You stay behind the glass.
Right.
And I was hooked. And he said, "Would you like to be a member? Help run the campaign?" Which I was not qualified for at all, except for the fact that I loved it, and I thought Bob was a tremendous candidate, and he was a tremendous candidate.
And how long did you work for him on his campaign?
I probably moved out to Omaha.
You moved there?
Yeah.
With your wife?
No, she said go. I came home and I was, really.
So your wife
interested in
Nancy, because by the way, Rich and I know each other really well. So your wife Nancy, your son Jared, and your son Justin, you left them all.
Yeah. So she said. So I got home, and they were like, "Would you help out from afar?" And we hired a great consulting group called Trilogy, who's a wonderful political agency and started building a team. And I was just so focused on Nancy said, just go, So I went out.
For anyone listening and not watching, the smile on Rich's face right now talking about Bob Curry is remarkable.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I you learn something every day. You go up and down every day.
How long did you work on the campaign? How long was it?
10 months. Yeah.
So you lived out in Nebraska for 10 months. Did you come back home at all?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. We'd do fundraising, but Bob's so amazing. I mean, we'd be in a plane or, we'd be in a car, phone would ring, and it would be, Bill Clinton, or it would be, Steve Martin is a great friend, or a constituent, an older woman in western Nebraska. And everywhere we went, every place we traveled, I had the team create a map, and we'd put an icon, because people would call me over and they'd say, "Hey, young man," which I thought was flattering. And they'd go, "If it wasn't for this guy, there wouldn't be this, this field for kids, or there wouldn't be this veterans hospital, or there wouldn't be this water treatment plant." And so I made them and the whole map was covered by these things. And I'm like, "Bob, look
what you've done.
At what you've done." He's like,
"Okay, now,"
he goes, "I'm still going to probably lose." I go, "Yeah, but
Did he win or lose?
He lost. I was.
How'd he lose?
Well, it was.
Who'd he lose to?
He lost to a new candidate who's still the senator out there, and she's a Republican. There had been with the health care in 2011. There were some issues where the state was accused of trying to get too much out of the deal, and they felt bad, and it was called the Cornhusker kickback. And they basically used that vote to come out. And
was it close, the election?
No.
Okay. Ugh.
Yeah, I was so.
Was Bob upset, or?
It was fine. He gave me he had written a speech, his speech for the night, and he delivered it. And he came over on stage and he gave me a hug. He's like, "Let's go home," which was funny because
go home back to New York.
Yeah, the whole time you're there, you're supposed to pretend that he really wants to be in Nebraska.
Yeah, he's like,
I bought a house and the kid registered in school, but he's like, "Let's go home."
Seemed like he ran because of peer pressure.
He goes, "I'll see you at the Y on Friday."
Okay, so
he's the greatest.
So I guess it's November of 2000.
Yeah. I come home. I was approached to say, "Hey, would you run for city council here in New York?" Because I had been involved in the community for a while.
Is that because you love the whole Bob Curry thing? And
No.
Okay.
I'd been involved in the community board here. And
you're on the community board now, right?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah, and I'd been the president of Little League and involved in a bunch of things. And the council member was we were running for mayor. That was Christine Quinn, and it's flattering. People said, "Hey, would you do it?" And I was not a great candidate.
And you still might do it one day
No,
today.
No.
Okay.
So, but you learn quickly, and no, it was. But then I got a call from somebody, headhunter, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, I don't know. I may run for council, city council."
He's like, "Why the hell would you do that?"
And everyone's like, "Why would you do that?" There's, And then I got a headhunter. A friend called and he said, "What are you doing?" I told him that, and he said, "I said, what's up?" He said, "There's this newspaper website." I'm like, "Oh, that's got to be terrible." He goes, "This is British thing," and I said, "Well, you know what it was? When we were in Nebraska, we were buying a lot of media."
Okay.
And I saw this headline, British tabloid growing so fast, going to pass the New York Times, the biggest news site in the world. And I remember I'm going to tease my friends at the New York Times. And I came home, this guy called and said, I said, "Daily Mail, I'm really fascinated."
And that was your first time you knew what Daily Mail was?
Yeah, we had lived in London for a few years, so I knew what it was, but I didn't realize how well it was doing. So I said, "I just want to meet them. I want to know how he's doing it." I might know some people who could be good at the role.
Right.
I didn't think it was for me. But I was so fascinated by the traffic, and I was so fascinated by the growth. And the way they were going about it, there were no tricks. It wasn't gaming search. It wasn't
just
rolling up
compelling content.
Yeah, and as people found it, they came back. Usually, there's a hurricane and weather.com gets traffic, or there's a something CNN gets viewership, but then it falls down. But and this went on for months. I would look at the metrics, and it was the Boston bombing. This traffic shot up, and
then it stayed
stuck.
up.
And I'm like, "That's
because people found it and they stayed there."
Like, how do you have no right to win the Boston bombing story, And
so what year was this? Is when you took the job?
2012.
And you took the job at Daily Mail.
Yeah, I said I'd do it for 2 years. I said it would be fascinating to take an offline brand and see if it could become an online business. And And then they said, well, would you do it? And I said, and they said, wouldn't it be fascinating to take an offline brand? And so I said, I'll do it for a couple of years. And,
Okay.
I joined.
So then you became the COO of
ran the
Daily
commercial
Mail.
side. Yeah. Mail Online, which is
Mail Online
online
in the U.S. or was it worldwide?
It was worldwide.
Okay.
Yeah, it was always global. And we had a great run. We've had a great run. And then 3 years ago, I was named CEO.
Well, no, before you jump to there. So then, because everyone wants to know this story. So then I met you.
Yeah, everyone wants to know that.
Everyone wants to know that story in 2014, I think.
Probably 14.
2014. You were probably at Daily Mail for a year or two.
Year and a half, 2 years. Yeah.
2 year. And I remember going to your office before it was Astor Place, a small little
on Green
room
Street.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And we met through our friend Dan Ballister.
Indeed, yeah.
Dan Ballister, who now runs the General's Hot Sauce. There's a plug for him. And Dan and I started helping you looking for some acquisitions, I believe, right?
Probably, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Right. And that's when it all started. And then I remember meeting John Steinberg.
John joined us maybe a year or two later, yeah.
Right. And then John Steinberg was the
title was President of the United States.
Right. But he was also running sales, and he was the one who brought in, I remember, University of Phoenix and T-Mobile, was it?
Yep.
The two big advertisers.
Clients that he had worked with at BuzzFeed, yeah.
And then I started helping John and you in programmatic in 2014.
Yeah, we had... So I remember when I joined, I really didn't know the financials of the newspaper. And they sat me down. I went to London. They sat me down. Newspaper.
And when you go to London, Daily Mail is the thing.
Yeah. And it was, the paper was still throwing off, it was generating a lot of revenue, throwing off a ton of profit. And I thought, boy, we're supposed to grow and replace that on digital. It's a huge number. At that time, there weren't that many companies doing 100 million, It wasn't,
right.
Like 5. And they said, don't worry, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And, I said, all right, I better figure it out, think of something to copy or whatever. And we had a huge audience. I mean, they had been late to the game. They started late in the UK. Before they knew it, though, once they got going, they were bigger than everybody else. And for a while, I think we were bigger than everybody combined in terms of UK publishers. And then they looked across, and we had as many users in the US as we did in the UK. And they had opened an office in LA, and then we opened the office in New York before my time.
Okay. And then the most fond memory I have of you and me together was 2016, where we started doing the Daily Mail MSG roundtables.
Was that 9 years ago? Yeah.
It was 8 years ago. I have a list. We're on 36 right now. So number one was 2016, because I have the whole list running. Yeah. And the first one we did was in your office, and it was all sellers. Yeah,
but you remember what happened was we had we'd walked into programmatic, and Matt Wheatland had come across, and Steph Laser was there, and I said, boy, we're really doing well, and this is perfect for us. We don't have to, we have this great audience, and they want to buy the audience, and it was getting great traction. We were doing really well. And I asked you, I said, gosh, we're doing really well. I wonder if we could be doing better. And you said, well, why don't you bring in some other publishers, and we'll have a dinner, we'll have a meeting, and we'll talk about it. And we brought in 10 or 12 to the
We brought in
one?
10 people. I remember Anthony from Washington Post.
Yeah.
I remember Matt Minoff.
Meredith, yeah.
Was Mark Howard there?
Probably, yeah.
Mark Howard and a couple others. I looked. I could not find who else was there.
Yeah.
And I remember having the conversation in your conference room, and it was just everyone was a little apprehensive, but so happy to share information just because no one knew. There was no benchmarking going on at all back then.
That's right. And we had a very, I think, diverse set of opinions. Some people thought it was the best of times. Some people thought it was the worst of times. I think over time, a lot of our thinking has kind of gotten aligned and maybe too aligned, but that was a good start. And we realized the value of just being able to talk to others, not even each quarter, which we've done, but in between when.
Right, and I think the other thing that our roundtables have done, they've brought this community together to share information, and you always do the little legalese without giving anything away.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to have this community and have an honest conversation with what's happening, and to get together.
Yeah.
And I remember John King always says, this is the best conference I go to every year, no matter what, whenever I go to it.
I agree. It's the best 3 hours we'd spend a quarter. And the relationships and the discussions were super valuable, even in between those 3 hours, those 3 months, and it became an important driver for, I think, what we did as publishers, And I could always blame you if, we didn't want somebody to be invited back.
And I could always blame you as well, which was the best. And I remember we got big, we got small. We had Google come in there. We did the whole rapper wars.
Yeah.
When I go through the list of everything we've done, I'm always blown away by how much we've accomplished in that time period.
A lot of really good people through. And some have left the industry, it's sad. Like we mentioned Matt Minoff and guys like that who are great.
I wanted to get Matt Minoff on the podcast up here, fly him up from Florida and say, like, what did you miss or what did you reminisce about ad tech, but he won't do it.
Oh, it's
too hard.
And it just shows you that what a great supportive industry it is and how many smart people are in it. We used to joke, though, there's like thirds, right? I mean, there's a third of people who are really smart and talk a lot. And there are a third of people who are not quite as smart and talk a lot. And then there are a third of people who are really smart and don't talk at all. And you do a great job of running it and extracting stuff from those people and calming down the others.
And I do have to say, when I met you in 2016 and started working with you, 2014, I think it was one of the fundamental things that changed my life for the better. Having you as a friend, as a colleague, and everything we did together in the industry. And it's like, I said the same thing to JR when I met him a year ago, but it's the same, like you and I together, I think we've made a big difference in bringing the community together of publishing.
Well, thanks. I feel the same way. A lot of whatever success I've had a lot of that's been from, you pushing me and our team and you introducing us to things. And so I thank you for that. And as you know, I'm really proud of our team.
You have one of the best teams between Matt Whelan and Jeremy Gann and company there, and Hannah. They are one of the best teams in the industry by far.
Yeah, it's going to sound terrible, but often when we leave those meetings, the roundtables, I'm even more appreciative of those guys because not that everybody else isn't great too. It's just I know that everything that's come up, Matt and Jeremy and others have considered it. We're rarely surprised, but they usually have a good opinion about it.
Now let's fast forward. So then you became CEO of Daily Mail.
Yeah,
that was like 2.5 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, and
you spent a lot of time in beautiful London, which was beautiful in the summertime, right? Sun sets at about 10 p.m.
Yeah. So I was made responsible for the Daily Mail group, which included print and other. We own Metro, which is a very great asset. It's a free paper. Also has a website, and that is the big business. And we went private at that point. Daily Mail General Trust went private in December.
Right. Yes. Paul Zwillenberg.
So probably back then, probably 8-9 years ago, we had 40 companies and probably 8 divisions, and we sold them off. Right? And our chairman, Lord Rothermere, bought back, bought back the shares that had traded for 90 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then recently you moved into a different role, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I think it goes back. Daily Mail's been around for 128 years. It was founded by 2 brothers in 1896, and it's challenged authority and engaged readers, and for all these years, and through 4 generations. And when I met Lord Rothermere, our chairman and the owner of the company, he said something to me he's never varied from, which was, I want to turn this over to my kids in better shape than it is today.
Which is not always easy to do.
No, and he's been in that role now for 27 years, and he's just incredibly focused and supportive and investing in journalism. He never hedges. He's always been consistent from that message. There are times when I've suggested he take a shortcut or hedge or something. Nope, he's all in, which is great to have that kind of support. And when we went private, he was really adamant that we're going to have to make some decisions that I don't want questioned. They're going to be long-term decisions and strategies that are not necessarily going to be great quarter to quarter, like you have to deal with.
Well, that's also the beauty of being a private company. You could do that.
He saw that, and Paul saw that, and they made that happen. So I never had to spend time, reporting to the city or to the street.
Right.
And we had boards, obviously, but we're able to take a longer term vision and make investments and try to anticipate where this is going. And in the last 6 months, I've started to see opportunities, changes that were happening.
This is really important. So these are opportunities out there in the ecosystem. There's so many
industry.
headwinds, so much negativity out there.
Yeah, I think we always get concerned about that, right? You know, how tough it is for people to, drive traffic. And we're really fortunate. Most of our traffic comes direct. It always has.
And there's only a handful of companies that have that much direct traffic.
Yeah, I mean, 40 to 50% of our uniques and 3/4 of our page views are from people who come to the browser and type in Daily Mail or open it up. We're still the biggest publisher on TikTok, and we're biggest, I think, on Snap and whatever is left of Meta. But we really focus on what people do, because when they come to the homepage, they're going to see more page views than if they come from search or social.
Do you want to talk about some of the opportunities that you think are potentially out there in the ecosystem for the publishing community?
I think the first is the one I think we all probably dreaded a bit, which is the elimination of cookies, which is obviously still been delayed. Although obviously with Safari, it's been that way for a long time.
We haven't heard much about the delay since.
Yeah, I think it'll happen eventually, but I think what happens again for just publishers that have a real audience, that have an engaged audience, that have an audience that likes the brand and likes the content, the opportunity there, I think, is to sell the curated audiences or whatever we're calling it at the time, in a direct or pseudo-direct way. I really think that's an opportunity to take back, because it was actually Andrew Casale who really showed me this was, I think the power moves from the buy side to the sell side.
Right, because the publishers have all the data on all the people
targeting,
coming to their websites for targeting. They know what's going on,
Yeah.
where the buyers really don't.
Yeah, and the models they built and the systems they built, which were so incredible, but which kind of lowered the value that they had to pay. And we played along with it, right? We publishers allowed it to happen. We let them find the users they were looking for, the readers they were looking for, at the cheapest possible price on the cheapest possible place. And that's, I think, a chance to fix that. I also think a bunch of the challenges to the platforms are going to yield opportunities for us as publishers. Again, whether you call them essential publishers or premium publishers who really invest in journalism, there is, I think, going to be an opportunity. I really hope that we optimize it or exploit it or whatever the term is, to rethink the way our industry works and how advertising works, et cetera.
And it feels like you said, there's so many potential opportunities out there today that probably an individual publisher can't do it on its own. But if we bring enough publishers together, which is extremely hard, maybe something can happen now.
Yeah, maybe. And I think if we don't, I'm looking for the right word, if we don't exercise our opportunities here or exploit or whatever the right term is, we're really going to regret it. This is our chance.
And then who better than someone like you, who's brought the industry together with all our roundtables and has a benevolent billionaire owner, right, who can try to help put this together and try to come up with some type of a plan to do something interesting.
Well, I think there's going to be money in the space. I think there's going to be there are going to be new browsers and new DSPs and new ad servers. All those things will come out. There'll be money that comes back into the space if we can get through what is a relatively tough time right now. The question is, what are we going to do with it? What are we as an industry going to do to make this more sustainable?
Like, will there be a new ad server when GAM potentially gets spun off?
All those opportunities, and they're hard to visualize, right? I mean, but again, we've been at this a long time. In 2001, when the Microsoft, DOJ, I think, brought Microsoft to court in 1998, that when they were found guilty in 2001, and they had to separate IE from Office, Internet Explorer from Office, we all thought, well, I'll still use IE. What else will I? Who knew that?
And now I don't think a single person besides my father uses IE anymore.
5, 6, 8%. But it's then came Safari, and then came Chrome, and they were allowed to. I think we are on the edge of that happening again.
And then what do you think about the AI, whether it's OpenAI and the LLMs and what they're doing out there, and how does the whole, answer agents instead of a search engine change everything?
Well, I think it's happening. I mean, Google now is a billion.
It's Google
users.
Gemini, right?
Yeah. They are now seeing overviews.
Right.
And that Google Gemini app is, I think, startlingly good. User experience and the questions, of course. And there are some people who opine on this really effectively. What's the model there? What's the
advertising model, right? Because no one knows that
yet. Right. But it's extraordinarily dangerous for those who invest in creating content, exclusive content. And the question is, how are we going to avoid being just undercut by this?
Well, so it feels like this is what Google did to the publishers 20 years ago. Now we're all a little more aware. So how can we do something a little bit differently, knowing that it might happen again? And there's also other competition out there and other partners you could.
There are many, right? And there are some that, some that'll take legal action, and that's one approach. And we've made an investment in ProRata.ai. It's a company out of Idealab. Bill Gross's company that's really looking at attribution, trying to figure out what content creator, and it's not just digital publishers, it's music and video, was used in an answer, and then trying to split the revenue 50-50. I am really excited about that. I really enjoy working with them, and very.
I've been dealing with an AI company as well, and every phone call I have after I'm talking to them, it just blows me away, the depth of knowledge. These people have been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years, and it's like we just started doing it for the past 6 months.
So we say, what are we going to do? I think there are innovations. There are what we would, initiatives that we can get behind if you've got a base, if you're, of traffic, and you've got a business model that you can get through what'll be a challenging time, and it is a challenging time.
And then other things that you've said to me is like, Google's still going to have a prominent position in the future, and we have to make sure we all get along with them when the piece happens, right? When everything.
They're going to innovate. They're really good at it.
Well, they're innovating now for the first time in a while.
That's why I think the Gemini product's astounding.
Right.
I think that it's in our best interest as publishers to work with them. There are battles now that we face, but there will be a path forward together, and I think it's important for us to understand what they're trying to achieve and see what we can do with them. So I think there are opportunities, as I said. What I worry about is that we as publishers don't really take the action and do the work and do the thinking and do the strategic efforts and the operational excellence that allows us to
and in some ways, it feels like the publishers need to get behind a plan that someone produces that they can agree on if that's going to happen.
There's probably some value in alignment and some critical mass, right? I mean, one of the biggest is attribution, right? And you've heard me, and again, there are people who write about this and think about this who I think are doing great work. One of the big problems is of our causing is that we never, as digital publishers, fought for.
This is attribution, like Google and Facebook have their own attribution. If someone spends $1, they know they made $1.50.
Or they're told they made it, and they believe they made it.
Right, and the open internet does not have attribution at all. So,
and it's hard, I get it, but there are people who are doing some great work in that space to convince the advertisers that the money they spend had a return on that ad spend. I don't think there's anything more critical than that could change our fortunes in that. And I think the platforms can help with that.
With Google probably being the leader because they're most tied into publishers than any other tech company out there.
But imagine if we can figure that out and we can get something that the buy side agrees with, right? I mean, because they have to, for lack of a better term, buy into it. They have to believe that when they spent that $1, they made $1.20 in ad spend. And, part of it's last click. Sometimes it's more than last click.
Right.
That is going to be, I think the biggest thing that we can fight for. And that would correct, an error we made 25 years ago.
Right, so learn from your mistakes now.
Yeah, but this is a chance to do that. I think it is a chance to do that. I think the challenge for publishers too is if you want to be big and you want to be influential and you want to have some long-term sustainability, you have to have a hand in every game. You can't just be creating content and trying to sell some of it direct and sell some indirect and try to improve your yields. That's part of it. But you also have to have content that's good enough to be licensed by other people who can monetize it on their platform where they have huge audiences like TikTok and Snap, our friends at Snap. You've got to probably
you have to be everywhere.
Yeah, you probably have to have a subscription product or a reader revenue model as a foundational piece of it. I think it's good to do commerce if it fits in. I think video is crucial, and not just short form, but for the site that you owned and operated, as well as long form. I think some people are doing great work on long form. What else? You've got to have these different revenue streams. Got to have a hand in all those games, and the hard part is that you have to do them all concurrently, and you have to do them all well, and that creates conflict in the tech arena of how you spend your resources. It causes some challenges on what you prioritize with your own promotion.
Yeah, it's interesting as we wrap this up. You're no longer running Daily Mail right now on the day-to-day operations, but in some sense, what you're thinking about now for the larger industry is impressive, and there's not too many other people out there who are thinking like this. So I think the industry is lucky to have you
thanks.
Thinking about these big ideas and bringing people together to try to come up with the solutions.
Well, thanks. That's very kind, and we're getting older. I feel it every day. There's this
today's December 3rd, and my birthday's in 2 days. And,
I'm well aware. Yeah.
And I admit my age right now. I used to never admit my age. But now I'm proud of it.
Look at the sweater you're wearing. I mean,
it's a grandfather.
It's a grandfather sweater. He was born to be a grandfather.
I will be 58 years old in 2 days. I'm having a big birthday party, and let's finish by telling the story, Rich, of what I do at my birthday party every year, because my wife will cringe, but it's a funny story.
You should probably tell it.
Okay.
If I tell it, it'll come out wrong.
So, producer Andrew, at my birthday party in 3 days on Saturday or 4 days, I get a speech, and I make a speech, and I read a speech thanking everyone, and I bring together all my different communities, my work friends, my New York friends, my pickleball friends, my dragon boat friends, my yoga friends. And at the end, my dragon boat friends convince me, it's not that hard, to take off my shirt and flex. So I will take off my shirt and I will flex, because I work out pretty much every single day. And then the best thing is watching me flex and then panning over to my wife, who's had 2 or 3 drinks, cringing, saying, "Oh no, here we go again."
Right. So if you can make that emergency call to me, that fake call that says I have to leave, I'd appreciate it. Yeah.
So Rich Caccappolo, thank you so much. Fascinating conversation.
Oh, thanks.
The Bob Curry thing I remember that, but not as well as you recalled the whole conversation. Thank you everyone for listening. If you want to be on the podcast, DM me. Rich, I'll say it again.
Thanks.
You've brought me so much joy in my life and my career. Every day I see you, I smile, and you make me a better person.
I wish my wife said. Yeah.
So
well,
that's
thank
it.
you, Abhishek.